Sue Wood lived in Guernsey for around 10 years. She was a member of the Archaeology Club and a keen canoeist. She died of a rare form of cancer aged 58, but not before becoming involved in cutting-edge genetic research to find out more about the condition. Some members of her family are here this weekend with hopes of a round-island canoe trip in Sue's memory.
The predominant goal of the challenge has been the fundraising, but the offset of that for us was really to raise awareness of this hereditary gene that other families could be affected with as well.
Sue loved canoeing, so we've always had canoes, we've always lived near the water, and we moved to Guernsey back in 2002. We've always enjoyed the sea, and we've had lots of boats down there, including a canoe. So it's a really clever idea, sort of mixed with a lot of Sue's interests, her love of the sea. And Sue was, a terribly positive person. She loved a challenge. She was always up for everything. So we had lots of adventures in our lives. So it's an appropriate thing to do, I think.
I came up with the idea of the challenge, first of all, when I saw it on television about 2 or 3 years ago about a brother who'd done it for his brother. He canoed around Britain when his brother had died, and I thought that was a very nice gesture. It was something very positive, but a difficult challenge. I just sort of put it in the back of my mind, really, didn't think much more about it, but I thought that was a brave thing for him to do in memory of his brother. As Sue got sicker and sicker, I decided then that it's something that we would have to consider, and sadly after she died, it's something I really thought I should make an effort to try and do. I hadn't thought of the family doing it, I just thought maybe I would do it in her memory as something strong and positive to do, as opposed to just letting the whole thing slide away. To me, as a brother, just a good companion for me, always friendly, always looking out for me. She was my older sister, and she played that role very well, and I was the younger brother, and I played that role pretty well.
She was central to the family, she was loved by everyone. She was definitely a glue for most people, she brought everyone together. She was always there every birthday, every Christmas. If something was happening significant in your life, you get good luck cards or anything, she was just integral to everyone's life.
Quite a small family, just my sister and my brother. So we were quite a small family, very close, probably closer than some families. Sue was my big sister. I don't have a sister anymore, so that's quite tough.
Alistair wanted to do something positive in memory of his sister, and I felt that it was a really positive thing for him to do for his sister in memory of her. We had to contact a few experts in kayaking locally on the south coast to see if we could train for it, and there were several people that could help us. We did a practice session, and we sort of took it from there, and we trained every 2 to 3 weeks, upping our distance covered each time we did a training session, and it was really positive. And I think one of the big positives for me was how quickly people got what we were trying to do, and how quickly they sort of supported us and helped us.
Everyone was like, this is going to be brilliant, this is going to be a lot of fun. And it's generated so much happy memories, just training and preparing for it, which I don't think any of us actually anticipated. So it's been brilliant in so many other ways.
The distance around Guernsey is 40 kilometres. It can be done over a day, but we knew we had to do it over 2 days. So to cover 20 kilometres on a kayak, you've got to be pretty fit. And we knew we weren't fit enough. So we got in touch with the gym instructor and took it from there. Pulling, pushing, all sorts of things, basically upper body, some core work, because as you're sitting in the kayak, you are actually balancing and using quite a lot of your core, even though you're not thinking about it, but mostly upper body, and arms, shoulders.
Everybody, got trained up, made an effort. I got on the boat and I feel I'm pretty good in the water, but actually I did find it quite difficult to start with. You think it's all about the upper body, and therefore it's all arms and shoulders and waist movement. And it is to a certain extent, but it wasn't particularly tiring. What I found most challenging was the cramping up of the legs, because you're sitting in this little plastic shell for hours on end. Your knees lock up, your hips lock up. So just getting in and out of the boat was really quite painful and slow.
We knew we had to do a training session around Hayling Island because we knew it was the same distance, 20 kilometres, for one of our days in Guernsey. So it was a big thing that we had to achieve, not just for our physical training, but also psychologically, so that we knew that we could do it. I do remember that on the fourth training session, I think it was, we went out, we had no idea how far we'd gone. We went into Itchenor Harbour and back again. It was only when we got home we realised we'd done nearly 20k. I think if you told me we'd done nearly 20k when we were doing it, I wouldn't have believed you. And so we were going further with less effort.
I'd moved to London in February, and so I was unable to train with everybody else, which was quite difficult for me. And I really had to knuckle down and train by myself. I went running in Hyde Park and Regent's Park, near where I live, and really had to change my diet and start eating more vegetables, being really conscientious about what I was eating, or we physically wouldn't have been able to complete the challenge. I think everyone felt the same. We really had to get in shape, but for me, by myself, away from the family, it was a little bit different. On our Hayling canoe training day, which was the first training day we'd really done together as a whole team, we'd been canoeing for about 6 or 7 hours solid in the midday heat. We got round the last bend and I just didn't think I was going to be able to make it, and we were so close to the end. I couldn't believe that was the moment that I was faltering. I had to stop. I went into the shore and honestly thought like I was going to throw up, and in the end my dad came up to me and he said, you can do it for Sue. And I think that's what got me to the end. After we finished the last training session on Hayling Island, I think we were all really nervous about doing the actual challenge, but we all felt that we were ready for it. We'd been through everything we could have been through to prepare us, and we'd done everything that we could to try it.
First day was not a great success. The weather was against us. We left late. We eventually set off, I think, about an hour late from memory, into a force 4, possibly force 5, gusting 6 gale, so quite big seas.
I think it was the rolling waves really that was the main challenge, keeping your boat upright and really trying to get through it. And obviously you have the rocks and what have you, but you just go around them or in between them. But it was really those rolling waves coming in. That was really quite an eye-opener.
Coming around the first corner, I could feel water coming down the side of my leg because the waves were crashing over the boat. I didn't think much of it and I thought I'd be okay. So carrying on, but after about an hour, suddenly the boat just went over. And I must admit, I was absolutely furious. I couldn't believe it had happened to me after all the training we'd done and all the preparation.
Actually, I was glad it was Alistair in a way, because I knew that he could take it and he wouldn't be fussed by it. And I can tell you, I've never seen such high waves in my life.
It was a bit of a shock because we'd practiced capsizing in training a lot. I knew what I had to do, and I think it was lucky that I was the closest person to him because we'd done a safety course together. So Ant was being the support in the middle, and I was supporting Ant's boat so that he didn't tip up too, because obviously the conditions were still really dangerous.
It was obvious by that stage we really were running out of time, and the sensible thing to do was to call it a day and come back in. And I think everyone thought that was the correct decision to make.
We just assumed they were just taking longer to get to us and whatever, but we were hanging around in this bay for maybe a quarter of an hour, so we knew something was awry, but we didn't know what. Suddenly going back into the, my God, this is what we've come through, and we had to get through that stuff again. So it was a toughest canoeing conditions I've ever canoed in my life. The decision was absolutely right to turn around. We were a team, we were doing it together, and we'd still had a long way to go along the south coast. It's not like we were halfway there. We were maybe a quarter of the way along the south coast at best.
We regrouped back at Mike's house and had a look at the maps and discussed what we would do for the second day.
After the first day, when we got back to the house, I think we could feel everyone's disappointment. I could tell that Dad was really upset we hadn't made it as far as we wanted to make it on the first day. But I think we all generated a bit of excitement for the next day and determination that we were going to complete the challenge and that we'd come here for a reason and we were going to do it.
It was lovely. There was a little bit of wind going round. There were about 3 or 4 headlands that we had to get round at the top point of Guernsey, which was a little bit rocky, but compared to day one was nothing. Through a few rocks and what have you, but once we got down onto that western coastline, through those waves, it was fine, absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. There were a few waves, but no white horses. We had time to enjoy the coastline, chat, stop for jelly babies. It was great. And then we got about 2/3 of the way down and got through a causeway from an island called Lee Ho to the mainland. And once we got past that causeway, the sea conditions were absolutely beautiful, calm conditions. It was perfect.
When we went past a couple of the harbours that Sue used to kayak through, we had a moment remembering her as a family, and I think for us that was really what the trip had been for, was to bring us together and remember Sue and do something for Sue. And I think that the amazing weather on the second day allowed us to do that.
So we all decided that we would come in together in a line, so we would all finish together, which was really nice. And the guides were great. They hung back because they could see we wanted to come in together as a family, which I thought was a lovely touch.
Got out of the canoes. Carol and myself just had a big hug because we were just relieved that it had all gone as we'd hoped to, and all our training, etc., come to fruition. There was quite a nice gathering of Sue's friends who met us at the beach. They'd cooked a few bits and pieces, champagne, and it was actually the next half an hour now. It was a really great time.
Had a good celebration and a few little speeches to Sue and congratulations to everybody who'd taken part, and the support we'd had from Outdoor Guernsey as well, the local guides. And then the press turned up, and a charming little interview, and it appeared in the newspaper the next day.
It was such a positive day. It was great, really great.
Sue had what's known as BRCA2 gene, which is a deformed gene that increases your risk of being diagnosed with cancer. For women who normally have a 12% chance of being diagnosed with breast cancer, having the BRCA2 gene increases your chances to between 55 and 65%, which is a huge increase in risk. For Sue, this obviously didn't make any difference to her chances. She'd already been diagnosed with cancer, but for wider members of the family, particularly me, my sister and my cousin Adam, it can really have an effect on our own chances of getting cancer.
By the time she knew she had the BRCA2 gene, it was obviously too late. I remember her having the test and the person who gave her the results coming in and being very sorry for her and how awful it must be. And Sue said really she had it all anyway, it didn't matter.
After Sue had been tested for BRCA2, which I didn't know she was getting done, she called me up and explained to me what had happened and what the BRCA2 was. I immediately got tested, went straight down to the GP and took the blood tests necessary for the BRCA2 diagnosis. As a result of the test that I had, I came back as a positive, but I was actually quite pleased to know that I had it and that it could be then help with my daughters Helen and Alex in future. I think it's best to be forewarned, it's forearmed, and I think anything that would help early diagnosis of a cancer is a good thing.
I decided that I wanted to be tested to see if I have BRCA2 now. I think it was really important to me to find out if I have the increased risk of being diagnosed with cancer later in life, so that I can take preemptive action in a way that Sue wasn't able to because she didn't know.
I think if you have a family, I think it is important to have the knowledge going forward. And the more research that can be done into it, it will be better in the future for lots of people.
And that's really part of the whole story of Paddle for Sue, because this is about Sue, but it's also about the rest of the family going forward and finding out more about the BRCA2 gene and what we can do to not only help our family but other families as well.
I think the biggest thing is actually the impact that this challenge has had on everyone's lives. In terms of, we've had some of our best memories out on the water ever in our whole lives through doing this challenge. You know, we've met some incredible people, and it's just something that I think Sue would thoroughly enjoy as well. So I think it's all of the memories and the wonderful things that have come from the challenge, not even the challenge itself.
Sue and I had never actually circumnavigated Guernsey in a boat. We've circumnavigated every other Channel island. I don't know why we didn't do Guernsey, but we never had done for some bizarre reason. So I now sort of feel that we've actually kind of done that, in a canoe, which is a lot more challenging.
I think she's been very proud of us to do that. On reflection, I think the challenge was a lot bigger and more complicated than we initially set out to do, but I think it's been a very positive experience for all people who've concerned. It's given us something to do over the last 9-10 months instead of sitting around moping, and I think that has been a benefit, and I'm really quite pleased how it's developed, really, from quite a small idea to what it has now become.
She'd have loved it. Yeah, she'd have loved it.